Hello, Bayla. I am making a video today because I've been putting it off for too long. I am sorry. My life has just been kind of like a little hectic and insane, and I've got so much to tell you about. I want to make this video about math and this book that I've started writing and tell you about that. But first, I want to give you all a suggestion. Maybe we should invite Mayor and Osher and Abba, although they, I'm sure, will not be as participatory. But maybe we should invite them to come and join this channel and become a part of the Kipsibs, so that I could get a little bit more of a break in between having to upload, but also just so that, like, you know, they get involved. And like, the idea is that all of us siblings are supposed to keep in touch, so probably be a good thing. And then, oh yes, so the book. So basically, I have this great book that Mom got for me because she's awesome, and it is called Discrete Mathematics with Applications by Susanna S. Epp, and it's an incredible book. It really is. It goes through like the very basics of logical form and mathematical sequencing before getting into rates of change, derivatives, that kind of thing. And just really explains it conceptually, like step by step, so that people like me who like really didn't get math the first time it was taught, because the people who taught us were idiots, because we don't have enough math teachers in this country, you know, and beggars ain't choosers. So I did not get the best, or like maybe, I don't know if best or ranking is the right way to talk about it, but I just know that the way that it was taught to me was not right, because I just didn't get it. Like, it felt like to me they were just teaching me rote memorization, like memorize, and then not the conceptualization, like not even like memorization then conceptualization, just memorization, no conceptualization. I mean, just look at linear regression. Look at how that class is taught in college. Like, you were just memorizing a sequence of steps. That's why kids have so much trouble with it. If you actually like understand why are these steps happening, you know, then you start to see math as like a language. It's like a shorthand language. It's like a dialect where you use symbols to represent larger ideas so that you can move quickly and discover the secrets to the universe without being slowed down by, oh wow, did you see that piece of spit fly? It took like a parabola angle. That was like over the rainbow, but whatever, I digress. The point is that, losing my train of thought, that's okay. Chugga chugga choo choo, coming right back to the station, and there it is. So the point is that this book is great, and it helps me learn math in like a very real way. Like not just memorizing it and doing the functions, but understanding the conceptualization, the realities behind it. And that is to me very exciting, because now I understand that math is actually just like a tool which I can use to create change in the world. And so it's very exciting. And it's also a really cool one at that. Like, if we're being honest with ourselves, math is basically magic. They're basically the same thing. Like, if I were to pour this water out, I'm not gonna do it right now because this is not my floor, but if I were to pour this water out, it would fall. Or if I were just to drop this entire cup, it would fall. But if I use math to study the physics of the world, and then engineering to apply what I've learned, to attach like a little device with like a little helicopter thing to the top, then I could let go and it would still be like, and it would just like stay levitating. And if that's not some Wingardium Leviosa level bullshit, then I don't know what is, because math is magic. Math is the language of objective truth. It's a language in which it's like poetry, but you can't lie. It's like I can lie to you now. I can say, oh, my shirt is, well, I was gonna say my shirt is red, my shirt actually is red. I can say my shirt is pink, or my shirt is purple. There's no purple on my shirt. It's like, but I can say it with words. But if I use logical sequence and logical form, and if I use proofs to like say something like, oh, if I throw a ball with this much force, it'll go that far, then like, if it's a lie, if it's not true, the math doesn't work. And so therefore with math is a language in which that makes it impossible to lie. It's the language of objective truth, and I think that is the coolest thing ever. And then, so the book that I'm writing. So I don't have it on me, unfortunately. I'd love to like show you some. Actually, maybe I do have it on me. Let me see if it's in here. I don't think it is. I can't check. The basic idea is just like, I'm going to actually do the work that nobody wants to do apparently, of going through books like these. Hello. And writing it all out in English, what's happening step by step, like not using mathematical symbols. Like, we'll show the mathematical symbols, but then we write out in English, like everything that's happening, give examples, and here's the best part, we make it fun. The idea behind this book that I'm writing is that like, it's supposed to be fun. There's gonna be references to pop culture and Snoop Dogg and Avatar: The Last Airbender and Harry Potter, and like things that I know American culture, and particularly our generation of American culture, like teenagers and youngsters, are very into. And I'll make references to these things. And then I pray to God that like people will look at this book and find it interesting so that they actually start learning math. because I believe that the only way to escape this dystopian nightmare where I live in this wonderful apartment complex, which is wealthy beyond my wildest, well, I guess not beyond my wildest imaginations. My imagination can get pretty greedy, but like pretty darn nice, you know, it's pretty fancy. While other people literally a few blocks away from me in that direction, like literally a few blocks away from me, these people like are just like starving to death, like actively. Are just like their teeth are falling out, like they don't have medical attention, medical care. Nobody's checking the drugs that they're doing to make sure that like it's not bad. And yeah, I think that once we have an educated populace, a populace who knows that, who understands the necessity of organizing in order to protect communities, who understands that what happens to one of us can happen to all of us and will eventually happen to all of us. Maybe it won't be you, it'll be your child though. What happens to one of us will eventually happen to all of us. If one of us is homeless, eventually chances are someone in your family line will be homeless. I mean, in our family line, we've already had people who are homeless, right? Like Grandma Celia, Grandma Billy, right? She like she was an orphan during the Great Depression. She was stealing breadsticks from restaurants until the day she couldn't go to restaurants anymore because she was too old, because she was so traumatized. And I just think that if we want to prevent that from happening again, and we're going to fail. Like Rome wasn't built in a day. One human lifetime is not enough to accomplish all of my goals, but it is enough time to accomplish a great many of them, and it is enough time to set in motion much larger goals. So I believe that like local scale organization is how we're going to, and I know that this all seems like a little bit like far off, like I'm going on a tangent that's not related to math, but I swear it's all interconnected. Because what I'm starting to understand is that if you don't have a basic understanding of like every important subject, like, okay, maybe there are some subject, I'm not saying you have to learn underwater basket weaving, but I'm saying you do need to have a basic understanding of archaeological history. Like understand like how the rise of states came to be, understand what the Younger Dryas refers to, like these things are important. Understand like the basic math, understand calculus, understand reading, literature. And like I'm saying all these things, but I don't understand all of them fully because I'm young, because I'm 20. I think that you guys are still young too. Maybe mom not quite as young as us, but you've still got time. And it's just like, while we still have time on this earth, it just does not make sense to me that we would not be trying to educate ourselves as much as possible, because the more that we get into like, you know, with our brain, it's use it or lose it. So like the more that we get into the motions of educating ourselves, of being connected to our community, of learning math, of doing the hard things we don't want to do, the more we are going to be okay with actually doing hard things. The more we're okay with doing hard things and getting intelligent and becoming well-rounded people, and like becoming Renaissance people, essentially, like people who know a little bit about everything. People who can who can sit at the table where the conversation is happening, even if they're not contributing as much as like the Stephen Hawking of that table. You know what I mean? It's like that level of participation is what's going to be necessary to create a world, or even just a city, where all of our none of our homeless people are homeless anymore, because they all have shelter, where everyone has food, where everyone has free healthcare, and just all of the priorities, the wants, the desires, the needs at the bottom of Thomas Maslow's hierarchy. Sorry, I got cut off there. My alarm went off. But everything at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like all of your safety and health needs, are just provided for. Because what I find is that a lot of the people who I used to look down on are actually less, I guess they have developed less interest and hobbies in me. It's not because they don't want to, or they're not interested, or they're lazy, or any nonsense like that we tell ourselves. It's because they don't have the time. They're working like 2-3 jobs, you know, or just one job, but they've got crazy hours. Like I've got a friend who's just like working like a double shift at Olive Garden, and just like that time should have been, like in his youth, I think that more of that time should have gone to studying and developing himself as a person. And again, like this is not his fault. Like he has to do it. There's no choice. And like, what are you gonna do? Not have money? It's like, you need money in modern society, you know, especially to create the most important type of retirement savings, which is not money at all. It's social capital. You reap social capital by going out and spending time with people, by doing favors for people, by interconnecting yourself with people, by demonstrating that you're a good person. And a lot of that is only possible through money. You want to go out with your friends, you got to have money. You got to be able to pay for some of the gas bill. You got to be able to like do all these things. And like you want to eat out with your friends, you want to go to a movie with your friends. Like if you don't have money, you're going to be missing out on a lot of really important bonding moments that other people are going to have access to. And just based on the fact that you were born in a position where you did not have all of your basic needs met, and so you were constantly having to work to meet those yourself, you become this person who does not have time to become part of this educated populace. Although this person in particular that I'm thinking of actually did take the time to like really educate themselves, despite not having as much free time as I do, which I applaud them for. That's really impressive, and I don't think it's fair to expect that of the average person, especially people who are even in worse situations than that individual is, because everything is a hierarchy. Like there's always a bigger fish, there's always a smaller fish. You know what I mean? There's always someone richer, there's always someone poorer, and I guess that what I'm saying is that I'm hoping this book is going to be the first step of many towards educating a larger populace such that we can be a part of every academic conversation, every political conversation, and we can begin to negotiate as one. Because apes alone, weak, but apes together, strong. You know what I mean? Maybe that would have gone a little better if I'd like used an actual pencil, or if one of my hands wasn't being used to like hold the phone. But I think I think you've watched Planet of the Apes. You know where I'm going with this. It's like we've got to organize. We've just got to organize. And like I don't know, for the first time in my life, I'm kind of starting to think like it's actually possible. Like we could actually do this. So I'm gonna give it my best. And my first step is going to be writing this book, and Bela, I will absolutely be sending you some drafts in a few years when I have some drafts, and having you read over them and just getting your opinion on them and your notes, and seeing how I can make them better, seeing how I can make them more relatable, seeing how I can I want to talk to like every single type of person. You know, like for example, like Myers-Briggs personality tests. Like I want to talk to an example of each personality and like start to understand them. I start to understand like what makes you tick, like what grabs your interest, what are your passions, what references do you like, you know what I mean? Like start to understand how to market to these people, and then create the book, find a really lovely artist, really wonderful artist to help me illustrate for it. We'll make it beautiful, and then we'll find a publisher, we'll make a deal. I will make profit off of it, because the fact of the matter is that I am not in a position where I can say no. Financial independence is something that I absolutely need as soon as physically possible. But the money is not going to go towards greed. The money is going to be reinvested in the Tallahassee community. And eventually I'm going to start saving enough to make some real change. And I'll end off there, because like if I go into what I'm going to do with that change, then we're getting into a much larger plan that I'm organizing right now, that I've been organizing for a long time actually. And for now, I don't want to be the person who gets ahead of themselves. For now, I just need to focus on the steps that are in front of me. And right now that those steps are building capital, building wealth, and then using that wealth to help other people build capital and wealth within our community, and hopefully also changing the way that they look at like certain things. Like I don't think anyone should not be looking at healthcare as a right. I don't think anyone should not be looking at water as a right. It's like once you understand that like if somebody asks you for these things and you don't provide it, that makes you the monster. Like literally that makes you the monster of the story. Like I think that once most humans realize that, and it is something inherently realizable. It's like you see someone, like you see a homeless person knock on like a door, and like you see like a more, not necessarily rich, but like someone who's more privileged, someone who's better off, someone who got luckier, more opportunity, just in a generalized better circumstance than the homeless person, refuse to give that homeless person a cup of water when they ask for it, that person is a monster. Like that, we all know that that person is a monster. Republicans, Democrats, libertarians, and socialists, we all know. And like, I think that because we all have that starting place in common, there is enough that humans have in common where if we were all educated as a population, we would mostly agree on what to do. It's only through all this division that the government is able to sow, because we're uneducated, that they are able to take such hardcore advantage of us all. So let's get started, huh?